James Lynch here with Ant Walker, and this is the Sherdog.com UFC 235 post-fight show. We are live here at T-Mobile. We just had a great card this evening, and let's start at the top of the card in the main event. Jon Jones getting a unanimous decision over Anthony Lionheart Smith, and you know, this wasn't the most amazing fight, but Jon Jones getting it done, and Anthony Smith hanging in there. You know, definitely living up to his nickname, Lionheart.
I found that the fight very interesting because you know, we know Jon Jones to be extraordinarily dangerous. We, for the most part, predicted that he would have a very quick finish, and it seemed like he was able to, at least from our estimation, get that finish, but he chose not to. I mean, when he just came back here for the post-fight presser, he says that he felt like he was slowing down and he, you know, needed to work on his cardio more. But I'm not quite sure I really buy that. I almost feel like Jones wanted the rounds, almost. Like, we hear that more commonly in boxing, but it just looked like he could have ended it at any time he felt like it, and he just decided not to.
Yeah, I sort of felt the same way. I think there were moments where he could have taken advantage, but I think in his case, whether it was maybe realizing that Anthony has been able to come back before, or if it was just a case of him, I don't know, just wanting to feel some things out a little bit. But either way, Jones gets it done in the main event. Dana White's saying Thiago Santos next. He wants to stay at light heavyweight. Is that the fight you think they should make?
Yeah, why not? I mean, especially if Jones is going to remain active the way he's been trying to. You got to just line up the next contender. Thiago Santos has earned his shot just the way Anthony Smith did. He earned a shot, so I don't see any problem with giving him that shot. But just think about how close we were to Jon Jones losing the title tonight off of a disqualification. I mean, the one on his record now is from a disqualification under very dubious circumstances, and we were just that close to him losing the belt off of disqualification, except for Anthony Smith being brave, being honest, even to admit that he was able to continue and kept fighting what ended up being a very lopsided losing effort.
Great point about the DQ, because I think two things. Number one, I don't think it's in Anthony Smith's character to you know, go out like that. Not to say that he didn't have the right to. He certainly did. But I think the fans would have never let him hear the end of that if he would have done it. You know, fans they're horrible sometimes. Let's be honest. So I think that was probably going through a little bit in his head as well. But good on him. Jones retains the title. Yeah, I guess potentially Thiago Santos next. Co-main event, a bit of a surprise. Kamaru Usman, really dominant performance over Tyron Woodley. The way Dana White sort of described it, he felt that it was more that Tyron didn't show up. I won't say he discredited Usman, but he certainly didn't give as much praise as I think we thought he would. Your thoughts on Kamaru's performance, and we'll talk about this next in a sec, but obviously a lot of options.
I mean, I think both is possible. I think Kamaru Usman put on a very impressive performance. He definitely surprised us. We both picked Woodley to win this fight. I know I picked him to do it by a finish in the third or fourth round. So very impressive on Kamaru Usman's part. But I think we can definitely say Tyron Woodley probably wasn't in that ultra drive gear that we'd like to see him in. I mean, he did come back here too and say that he just felt kind of flat. He just felt off. I mean, it was a weird night. Mm-hmm. There was definitely like a weird energy going through the air, and I wonder if that energy is kind of what Tyron was feeling when he went out there. I mean, I would jump out on a limb and say that was probably the most lopsided title challenge that I can remember in quite some time. I mean, maybe I would say Dillashaw Barao I would rank in there to see sustained dominance and then a finish, but how close was Woodley to getting finished at the end of that fourth round?
Yeah, very true. And I think the other thing that we need to look at is there have been fights where Tyron has been disappointing. We just forget about it. It's been so long ago. You know, there's the fight against Rory McDonald where, you know, it looked like Tyron was, you know, going to get the win in that one, and he didn't. Rory neutralized him. Kind of reminded me a bit of that tonight, where Kamaru just really took him out of his element as well. But like I said, I agree with you in the sense that I think Tyron was off a little bit. Who knows why that was? He didn't seem to have any answers, but you know, a lot of talk is about what's next. I don't know. I mean, I think the division's pretty deep at this point. There's a lot of options in terms of what happens. We do know what's going to be happening with Kamaru Usman next. Colby Covington, which I guess we could have expected if this would have happened, but it's not the first fight that came to our minds when we were thinking post-fight UFC 235.
Right. I mean, fair play to Colby Covington. He made sure we remembered who he was this week.
Yeah.
He crashed the open workouts. He was at the weigh-ins, I believe, as well. He actually was outside T-Mobile Arena with a a mock presidential campaign sign saying Colby Covington make welterweight great again, and just hyping up fans and getting interviews everywhere he could, all around the casinos in Vegas. And he made his presence known tonight. According to Dana White, he was actually getting into it with Tyron Woodley's mother at some point, and we saw him get escorted off of the arena floor by security. He was flanked by a fair deal of Las Vegas's finest. Colby Covington made his presence felt, and it looks like he's going to be rewarded with that long-awaited title shot.
I'm surprised that this is actually happening. It looked like earlier in the week that this wasn't going to happen with Colby not getting the next shot. It seemed like the UFC was trying to punish him, but I don't know if it was him actually getting in Dana White's face at the Palms on earlier this week. If it actually worked, because a lot of fans were saying this guy's going to get cut. Now we see that he's getting the next title shot, so very interesting. I'm excited about that fight just because of the build-up that Colby's been able to have. So really interesting times right now in the welterweight division. Just moving along with this card, we had the women's fight as well. Weili Zhang getting it done over Tisha Torres. We do have the Ben Askren Robbie Lawler fight. I'll get to that after, but I wanted to highlight the women here first. Zhang, coming out there, getting a really impressive win over Tisha Torres and really making her presence known in the top 15. Where do you put her? Because this is a huge win, but she was so far behind when she sort of came into this. It's tough to sort of figure out where she should fight or who she should fight.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what to do with her, but we do know she needs a high-ranked opponent. We know that for sure. To be able to handle Tisha Torres, who's known as one of the stronger women in that weight class, to really manhandle her the way she did and dominate position, outstrike her in so many different ways. I mean, there were so many little nuances to her game that were so impressive. We've seen them work against lesser opposition, but to see them against someone who is a bona fide, legit person at strawweight was really interesting to see. And how big is that for a market that the UFC has been trying to get into for quite some time, and now they actually have a legitimately ranked fighter there. And while this performance institute is being built, definitely not the only market that appears to be open tonight, as Usman is very adamant about Nigeria being a stronghold in MMA, but China's looking pretty good right now as well.
It certainly is. Maybe Cynthia Calvillo. That'd be a fight that would interest Zhang. I mean, again, they have to be smart about this because she's a chip they have that they can use. So you want a fight that's going to be competitive and also gets her, moving along on this, progression she has. We talked, or I alluded to it there. Ben Askren, Robbie Lawler. Unfortunately, the way this fight ended with, was it a submission or not? Herb Dean coming in. I mean, it's not Ben Askren's fault. Props to him for surviving. I thought he was done after Lawler dropped him on his head. I don't know what the wrestling move is. I think it was F5 or something that Brock Lesnar moved. Robbie just, immediately just drops him. Askren's bleeding. Nose is running like a faucet, and he gets it done. And Dana wants the rematch. What do you think about that?
You know what? First off, I have to say I'm not mad at Herb Dean for that. I'm really not. Sitting in the arena, it looked like, at least from my vantage point, and there were other media members sitting near me that disagreed, a few that did agree, but it looked to me that Robbie Lawler was out. In fact, he probably wasn't, but when you drop your hand so fast, you can't really get that mad at the referee for seeing that and interpreting it as you being choked out when you are actually being choked by a very, very strong grappler. So I'm not mad at Herb Dean at all. I mean, it's an unfortunate thing. I would like to see them run it back. For obvious reasons, I don't think Ben Askren wants to take that. I mean, he did say at the post-fight presser that didn't interest him, and he doesn't want to fight. He didn't want to fight him in the first place. That he likes him, but I think we saw why he really doesn't want that fight. Now, with Usman looking like he's going to fight Colby next, I know Askren had his heart set on beating Colby Covington. He's now targeting the winner of Masvidal and Darren Till, which I think that's next week.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens there, but I think this should be the beginning of another interesting battle between Dana White and Ben Askren about this Robbie Lawler rematch.
Yeah, I'm curious to see who will win that battle because I see both sides of it. I mean, this was a controversial fight to a certain degree, but then also we have Ben Askren, who can talk a big game, and you certainly want to see what he can do against someone that can really build up a fight. We didn't have that in this matchup, and I think that was sort of missing. Moving along, Pedro Munoz gets an impressive knockout over Cody Garbrandt. I mean, you talked about it a lot, in terms of I was reading your tweets and everything. It's Cody just being reckless again and gets caught. And we know Pedro Munoz has a good submission game. We've seen him with knockout power, but I think this was a little bit surprising just because of Pedro's not known as a knockout guy.
Right. I mean, when we saw T.J. Dillashaw knock out Cody Garbrandt 2 times in a row, you could chalk it up to the rivalry and the emotions getting the best of him, and Cody Garbrandt being an emotional guy. But this time there was no animosity. So yeah, maybe he's an emotional guy, but I honestly think it's time for some new coaching to salvage that career, because it wasn't that long ago that he was a very promising star, and now he's on the wrong side of 3 early knockouts. You just wish a guy with that much talent, with that much promise, would get some better looks and be back on the horse and get back to his winning ways.
Quickly, I know we're running out of time here. There's a lot talked about on this card. Johnny Walker looking great, getting a highlight reel finish over Misha Serkinov. Excited for his rise in the light heavyweight division. I thought Zabit Magomedsharipov put on a pretty good performance against Jeremy Stephens, but I don't think the type of performance that makes us think title challenger right now. I think that was sort of the narrative heading in. No discredit to Stephens, a very tough veteran, but I think we need to see a little bit more from Zabit. And Diego Sanchez, what can you say? Really great win. He's talking about anti-aging. I'm starting to believe him, because that was a really good win tonight over Mickey Gall. Just your thoughts on the rest of the card.
Yeah, Father Time looks like he lost one tonight to Diego Sanchez. Great work by him. Just wonder what's next for Mickey Gall. He's lost 2 guys who have much more experience and who are legitimate mixed martial artists with proven records. So got to wonder if he has to go back to the drawing board, maybe get some wins outside the promotion, and see if he can rebuild himself. But overall, I think it was a bizarre card. I'm not sure if it was bizarre or good or bad or something. It was a night to remember.
Certainly a little bit of everything. Check out Sherdog.com for all your post-fight coverage. Anna's been killing it over here. Mike Sloan behind the camera doing a great job. Adam Martin doing some great job with the play-by-play tonight. We got you covered for sure. And where can people get a hold of you on social media? And anything you got coming up for Sherdog, by all means, the floor is yours.
All right, the good, bad, and the ugly, my regular post-fight column, should be live tomorrow. Be finishing that as soon as we wrap this video. You can find me on Twitter at Ant Walker MMA, and also check out the